The golden sun cast long shadows over the dusty village of Umaka. OLUCHI, barely 12, moved around the compound with tired limbs, sweeping dried leaves into a pile. Sweat trickled down her brows, but she dared not pause, not while Mama Ngozi, her aunt, was home. From the open-air kitchen, the scent of palm oil and egusi filled the evening air. Ngozi, the eldest daughter, stirred the steaming pot, stealing glances at OLUCHI, who dragged her feet, shoulders weighed with exhaustion. Ngozi clenched her jaw. She remembered how kind OLUCHI's mother, Onyinye, had been to her, how she had braided her hair and gifted her pretty dresses. Yet, here was Onyinye's daughter, treated as a maidservant. Many years ago, a young Obianuju, vibrant and full of ambition, strutted across the campus of the University of Nsukka, arm in arm with her secret boyfriend Chidi. He was a soft-spoken bookworm, deeply in love with her, though she saw him only as a fool, a nerd who could help with assignments and projects. What Obianuju didn't realize was that Chidi was Onyinye's cousin. Onyinye, a stunning beauty with a sharp wit, had always been in Obianuju's shadow, until the day she exposed her. It had started when Onyinye overheard a conversation between Obianuju and her other two wealthy boyfriends. The deception was undeniable. Enraged by the betrayal, Onyinye had taken it upon herself to reveal the truth to Chidi. Chidi had been devastated. He confronted Obianuju, his voice shaking with hurt. "Who gave you this?" Obianuju demanded, her heart pounding as Chidi held up his phone, displaying evidence of her lies. "Onyinye," Chidi said flatly, "she showed me everything." Obianuju had tried to sweet-talk him, her hands trembling as she reached for his arm. "My love, it's all fake. Someone is jealous of us." "Enough, Obianuju," Chidi's voice cracked as he stepped back. "You never wanted us to go public, and now I know why. You never loved me. You used me." His words were like a slap. Obianuju's stomach twisted with fury. Humiliated, she stormed out. Onyinye had taken everything from her, her pride, her security, her relationship, and from that day forward, Obianuju had sworn revenge. Years later, fate played a cruel trick on her. When her brother Oyema brought Onyinye home as his bride, Obianuju nearly choked on her drink. She had threatened Onyinye, spreading lies to Oyema about her being loose and unfaithful, but Onyinye had been one step ahead. She had told Oyema everything. "I already know about your lies," Oyema said, laughing as he held Onyinye's hand. That night, Obianuju had wept in frustration. She had lost again. But when Onyinye and Oyema died in the accident, leaving little OLUCHI orphaned, Obianuju saw her chance. If I couldn't make Onyinye suffer, then her daughter would pay for her sins. At 12, OLUCHI bore the weight of her aunt's resentment. From dawn to dusk, she cooked, cleaned, fetched water and tended to the farm. Unlike her cousins, she never went to school. But Ngozi, the eldest, had a heart. One evening, OLUCHI gathered courage and whispered, "Ngozi, can you do me a favor?" Ngozi wiped her hands on her wrapper and smiled. "Of course, OLUCHI." "I need a penny, just one," OLUCHI said hesitantly. Ngozi chuckled. "A penny? What for?" OLUCHI hesitated, then whispered, "To make a wish." Ngozi's eyes softened. Without a word, she disappeared inside and returned with 10 copper coins. "You can buy something nice," she teased, pressing the coins into OLUCHI's palm. Overcome with gratitude, OLUCHI threw her arms around her. "Talk to me if you need anything," Ngozi whispered before they pulled away. "And you can use the rest to buy some candy if you wish." That night, OLUCHI wrote her wish. "I wish for love, care and kindness. I wish for a better life filled with happiness." She cried as she wrote on a piece of paper. The next day, while she was on her way to the village stream, she stopped beside the well. As she knelt down with her hands together, "Great spirits of the well," she whispered, her lips trembling, "please hear me. If there is any kindness left in this world, let my life be different. She took a deep breath and tossed the coin and the paper into the well. The well swallowed her wish, and for a moment she imagined it traveling through unseen waters to a place where miracles were made. She uncurled her fingers, 9 coins remaining. A smile crept onto her face. For the first time in years, she had something of her own. With careful steps, she walked to the village market. The scent of roasted groundnuts and fresh mangoes filled the air. She reached a small store where an elderly woman sold coconut candy and sugar-coated chin-chin. "Good morning, Mama," OLUCHI said softly, placing 2 coins on the wooden counter. The woman smiled, recognizing her. "OLUCHI, my child, you have grown. What would you like?" She pointed shyly at the sweets, and the woman wrapped them in a brown paper. "Enjoy, my dear." As she walked back home, she savored the treat, closing her eyes with every bite. It was a taste of freedom, no matter how small. But the remaining coins, she needed to hide them. If Aunt Obianuju found them, she would accuse me of stealing. Her eyes darted to the small vegetable garden behind the house. The soil was soft from the morning dew. She knelt, dug a shallow hole with her fingers, and buried the coins. No one would take this from her. Time passed. Ngozi left for college, and OLUCHI grew into a young woman. At 16, her once thin frame blossomed, her deep brown skin glowing like polished mahogany. But her beauty was hidden beneath hardship. Her hair remained unkempt, her clothes old and torn. Despite this, villagers whispered about her, their eyes lingering. If only she had proper care, the market women would sigh. "That girl is more beautiful than she knows," the men murmured. Yet, OLUCHI saw none of it. She still woke before dawn, cooked, cleaned, and worked in the fields until her hands blistered. She had long stopped believing in miracles. Elsewhere in the village, Chief Obi's son Chikezie, a man of wealth and promise, prepared for his upcoming marriage. On the evening before the wedding, he visited the tailor's shop for his final fitting. As he stepped outside, dark clouds rolled across the sky, swallowing the sun. Then rain, a heavy, merciless downpour. Chikezie ran, searching for shelter beneath a massive tree. His fine clothing clung to his body, soaked through, but he waited. An hour passed, then lightning split the sky, followed by a deafening thunderclap. Chikezie's vision blurred. A force struck him, sending a jolt through his body. His knees buckled and the world went black. At home, Chief Obi and his family grew restless. "Where is he?" his mother whispered, pacing. When the rain ceased, his siblings rushed out, lanterns in hands. After 2 hours, Amara, his younger sister, screamed, "Here, I found him." Chikezie lay face down in the mud, his hands and feet cold. "Chikezie, wake up!" His brothers shook him, their voices frantic. They lifted him carefully, carrying him home. His mother wept as she dried his body and warmed him by the fire. The family prayed. His wedding was in 2 days. Surely he would be fine by morning. The next morning, Chikezie's eye fluttered open. His family was happy, but immediately saddened when they found out Chikezie could not see. "What?" his father barked. "What do you mean you cannot see? Tomorrow is your marriage to Adora. You know how this marriage will benefit this family. You must get your eyesight before tomorrow." His mother rushed to his side. "My son, what has happened to you?" Chikezie tilted his head confused. "Who are you?" A collective gasp filled the room. "Chikezie, I am your mother," she said, gripping his hand. "That was your father." "But I don't remember anything," Chikezie said flatly. "But I know I am hungry." His mother nodded her head. She fed him, her hands shaking. She knew something was terribly wrong. Later, she found her husband pacing in frustration. "Nai," she pleaded, "you are being too harsh. It was not his fault." Chief Obi clenched his fist. Not only is he blind, but he has lost his memory. "What about the wedding? What will we tell Adora's family? His wife folded her arms, glaring. Your son is sick, and all you care about is that marriage, she spat. If the wedding is so important, let Gozie marry Adora instead. Adora chose Chikezie. If it's not him, it's no one, he roared, storming out. Inside, Chikezie lay awake. His mother sat beside him, holding his hands. A few days ago, everything was fine. She whispered, tears slipping down her face. She began to sing a soft lullaby, a song from his childhood. Madu adige meya oweya. No one makes themselves. Fate decides it all. Her voice flowed like the evening wind. Though his memories were gone, something stirred deep within him. He closed his eyes, feeling a strange peace, as if he had known this song all his life. The next morning, Adora's family waited. The decorations were set. Guests gathered, but where was the groom? Chief Obi arrived, but his practiced speech failed him. His throat went dry. The guest whispered. Adora's father narrowed his eyes. Where is my daughter's husband? Chief Obi looked down, his lips trembling. He had no answer. The air was thick with tension. Chief Obi stood before Adora's family, his hands clenched into fists, his face unreadable. The once lively compound, adorned with fine decoration, now felt like a battlefield of broken expectation. After a moment, he exhaled sharply and spoke. Chikezie won't be coming. His voice was hoarse but firm. An incident happened, and he was unable to marry Adora. However, my second son, Nnanna, is willing to take his place. Gasp rippled through the gathered crowd. Adora's father stepped forward, his nostrils flaring. Tell me you are joking, Obi. You want to disgrace my family? What is this nonsense? Behind him, Adora, dressed in her bridal attire, trembled. Her heart pounded violently against her ribs. What? Father, tell me it's not true, she cried, stepping forward. Her eyes searched her father's face, pleading for a lie, but all she found was grim silence. Her vision blurred, her knees buckled, and darkness consumed her as she fainted. Her mother lunged forward, catching her before she hit the ground. She cradled her daughter and shot a look of pure hatred at Chief Obi. May the gods judge you, Obi, she spat. Chief Obi returned home, his face dark with fury. The rejection of Nnanna had wounded his pride beyond measure. He stormed into Chikezie's room, his eyes burning with rage. I never want to see you in this house again, he growled. Chikezie, still weak from his blindness and memory loss, tilted his head in confusion. Father, what did I do? Chief Obi stepped closer, his breath hot with rage. Not only have you cost me this alliance, but you have disgraced me. When I see your face, I see my failure. Pack your things and leave. His mother fell to her knees, clutching the hem of her husband's wrapper. Obi, please, he is sick. Where will he go? She pleaded, her voice cracking, but Obi yanked his garment free from her grasp. If you want to stay in this house, you will do as I say. Chikezie's mother had no choice but to lead her son away. The journey was slow. Chikezie leaned heavily on his mother, his steps uncertain, his world filled with only darkness. After what felt like hours, they reached a small thatched hut nestled deep in the outskirts of the village. This will be your home now, my son, his mother whispered. She visited him daily, tending to his needs, cooking his meals, speaking softly to him. But Chief Obi noticed her absence from the main house. If you value your place in this family, you will stop going there, he warned, or live with him. Chikezie's mother was trapped. She couldn't abandon him. If she left Obi's house, they would starve. That's when she made a desperate decision. She would find a wife for Chikezie. The village girls were not interested in a blind man with no memory. A husband should be strong and able, they whispered. What kind of life is that? Living with a man who cannot even recognize his own wife. One morning, a woman visited Chikezie's mother. My name is Obianoju, she said, a sly smile on her lips. I can find a wife for your son, for a price. Chikezie's mother agreed immediately. She was willing to do anything to ensure her son was not alone. Oluchi had just turned 19 and Obianuju planned to give her away for the prize. At home, Oluchi was washing clothes near the well when she heard her aunt call. "Oluchi, pack your things. You are getting married." The basin of water slipped from her aunt. "Auntie, married to whom?" she stammered, her hands shaking. Obianuju folded her arms, her voice dripping with malice. "Do not waste any of my time, you ugly orphan. I have already received the payment. Pack your things." Tears welled in Oluchi's eyes, but she knew there was no escape. That night, she folded her few belongings into a worn cloth bag and wiped her tears. Everything happened for a reason, she whispered to herself. The journey to her new home was long and silent. When they arrived, a kind woman, Chikezia's mother, greeted her with open arms. "Welcome, my daughter." She led her to a small hut, pushing the door open. Inside, a man sat on a mat, his face turned towards the sound of their footsteps. "This is your husband, Chikezie," the woman said softly. Oluchi held her breath. She had imagined an old man with missing teeth and hunched shoulders. But Chikezie was young, too young and heartbreakingly handsome. The evening was filled with silence. Chikezie and Oluchi sat on opposite ends of the room, neither knowing what to say. At last he broke the silence. "So your name is Oluchi, a name as beautiful as God's creation on a Sunday." A small chuckle escaped her lips, despite her mood. "I wouldn't say that. You will have to see for yourself to know," she teased. He smiled, his head tilting towards her voice. "When I get my sight back, I will gaze at your lovely face all day," he said. "But even now, I can tell your laugh is beautiful." A blush crept on Oluchi's cheek. "Recover fast then," she murmured. "Oh, I don't really need my eyes to know," he whispered. The air between them grew warm with something unspoken. One evening, as they sat on a woven mat talking about small things, Chikezia's voice dropped to a soft whisper. "Oluchi, come sit on my lap. I want to hold you." Her stomach tightened. "I have never sat on a man's lap before," she admitted. "Don't keep me waiting, my love," he teased, smiling. "I promise I won't hurt you." She hesitated until she felt him gently tug her towards him. She gasped softly, but did not resist. As she settled against him, his arm wrapped around her waist, firm yet gentle. For the first time in years, Oluchi felt safe. She leaned her head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. In that moment, beneath the thatched roof of their modest hut, two broken souls found solace in each other's presence. Perhaps this was the miracle the world had promised her after all. The soft glow of moon filtered through the thatched hut as Oluchi slowly lowered herself onto Chikezia's lap, her hands resting on his shoulders, her body tense with uncertainty. Chikezie exhaled, wrapping his arms around her tightly, as if he was afraid she would disappear. He buried his face in the crook of her neck, inhaling her scent. "You smell like fresh rain," he murmured against her skin. A shiver ran down Oluchi's spine. She really liked the way he held her. Her eyes searched his face, taking in his strong jawline, the smoothness of his dark skin, and the way his lips parted slightly as he breathed. An unfamiliar urge swelled up inside her. Slowly she reached out and touched his face. Her fingers traced the shape of his nose, the fullness of his lips, the rough texture of his jawline. Chikezie shuddered at her touch. "Your hands," he whispered. "They feel like soft petals of a hibiscus flower." His own hands rose to meet hers. He ran his fingers through her thick long hair, marveling at its silkiness. "Hair as long as that of a goddess," he whispered. His fingers brushed her high cheekbones, then her delicate nose, then her lips. "Plump, soft lips," he mused, his tongue running over them. A fire burned in his blind eyes. He wanted to go further, to explore more, but Oluchi gently held his hand, stopping him. "Not yet," she whispered. Chikezie let out a slow, shaky breath, nodding in understanding. "You are so beautiful, Oluchi," he murmured. "I only wish I could see you with my own eyes." His words sent warmth through her body, causing her heart to pound uncontrollably. "But can I kiss you?" he asked. Oluchi froze, her breath caught in her throat. She had never been kissed before. She had never imagined this moment. She hesitated too long, and Chikeze's expression shifted. "Your silence says it all," he said, his voice filled with sadness. "You don't want to be kissed by me." The hurt in his tone squeezed Oluchi's heart. She couldn't bear for him to feel unwanted. Slowly she cupped his face in her hands. Her fingers felt his warmth, his strength, his need. Then, without a second thought, she pressed her lips against his. The moment their lips touched, a spark shot through her body. Chikezie deepened the kiss, capturing her lips with a tenderness that made her shiver. His hands cradled the back of her head, his fingers tangling in her hair as he explored her mouth with slow, intoxicating movements. It was unlike anything she had experienced before. Her entire body felt light, as if she were floating. The taste of him was unfamiliar, yet sweet and addicting. When she finally pulled away, gasping for breath, she brought her fingers to her lips. They tingled, swollen from the intensity of their kiss. Chikezie let out a deep sigh, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Your lips, they are delicious," he murmured. "I don't mind having them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What do you say?" Oluchi laughed softly, her cheeks burning. "We'll see about that," she teased. The warmth between them lingered, but soon Oluchi rose from his lap. "It's getting late," she said, smiling. "Let me make us something delicious to eat." Chikezie groaned dramatically. "The only delicious thing I know right now is your lips," he teased. She playfully swatted his shoulders. "Go away, you naughty man." "Then let me sit close to you while you cook," he said, still grinning. She rolled her eyes fondly but nodded. But then again she remembered that he couldn't see, so she agreed and said okay. As she moved around the small kitchen, Chikezie sat nearby, teasing her endlessly. "Are you sure you know what you are doing? That doesn't smell as good as your hair. Do I get a kiss before dinner or after?" Oluchi laughed, shaking her head. "Shh, or I will serve you plain water for dinner." Within an hour, the meal was ready. She served him carefully, guiding his hands to the bowl. When Chikezie took his first bite, he moaned in pleasure. "Oluchi, this food is the most delicious food I have ever tasted." Oluchi blushed, looking down. "Thank you, Chikezie," she said softly, "but I'm sure you have tasted better meals before. I saw your house. It was beautiful. Why are you here?" Chikezie's smile faded slightly. He placed his bowl down, tilting his head towards her voice. "You don't like it here?" he asked. "No, don't get me wrong," she quickly said. "It's just a harmless question. If we are going to live together as husband and wife, it's necessary we share things with each other." Chikezie nodded slowly. "I don't remember much because my memories are lost. But from what I know, I was treated badly. I was expected to marry a woman I did not even remember." A strange tightness formed in Oluchi's chest. She didn't like the thought of him being with other women. She wanted him for herself. She reached for his hands and squeezed it gently. "Don't worry, my husband. I will go wherever you go. I will stay wherever you stay." Chikezie squeezed her hands back, a slow smile forming on his lips. "Thank you, Oluchi. I don't know why, but I just need that assurance that you will be with me at all times." "You have it," she whispered. Silence fell between them, but it was not uncomfortable. It was warm, safe, peaceful. For the first time, Oluchi felt like she belonged. For the first time, Chikezie felt like he was not lost. He turned to her, his voice barely above a whisper. "Hopefully, I will give you the life you deserve when I get better." Oluchi smiled, her fingers gently caressing the back of his hands. "We will have it together," she said. That night, as they lay side by side, listening to the sounds of cricket outside, their hands remained intertwined. Neither of them knew what the future held, but that moment they held each other, and that was all that mattered. The afternoon sun casted a golden glow over the small hut as Chikezie sat outside on a wooden stool, listening to the rustling trees. He could hear the soft shuffling of Oluchi's feet as she walked towards him. The scent of fresh palm oil and spices lingered on her skin from cooking dinner. She took a deep breath before speaking. "My love, I have been thinking. I wanted to start a small business," she said softly, kneeling beside him and placing a gentle hand on his knee. Chikezie tensed immediately, his jaw tightening. "No, Oluchi. My mother brings us food and money every week. That is enough." Oluchi sighed, frustration creeping into her voice. "Chikezie, your mother and her husband will not always be here to care for us. I need to do something for our future." "No, my answer is no," he said firmly, gripping her hand, "and that is final." A lump formed in Oluchi's throat. Tears blurred her eyes as she refused to let them fall. She stood up slowly, stepping away from him. Her heart ached, and suddenly memories of her late parents crowded her mind. She thought of her mother, her soft voice, her warm embrace, the way she would sing to her whenever she was sad. A deep sadness settled in her chest, and before she knew it, she began to sing softly, her voice trembling but steady. Chikezie, who had been sitting rigid and unmoving, suddenly felt something inside him shift. His breath caught in his throat. Something about that song. It called to him like a whisper from a past he could not remember. Slowly he stood up, his hands reaching forward. "Oluchi," he murmured. She turned to him, her voice trailing off as she saw him approaching. She rushed to him, placing a hand on his chest, guiding him back to his seat. He reached for her, pulling her onto his thigh and holding her close. "Obim," he whispered, holding her face between his hands. "I know you are sad, and it's my fault. I should be the one working, not you. Please reconsider. Or maybe I can go with you." Oluchi touched his cheek gently, feeling his warmth beneath her fingers. "My love, you know you cannot go with me to work," she said softly, "but I have an idea, one I think you will like." "Tell me," he urged, pressing his forehead against hers. "I will buy some seeds and plant them on the land close to us. We can sell the crops after harvest. This way, we can work together," she explained. A smile spread across Chikezie's face. "I like this idea better," he said, his hands running through her thick hair. "I will just have to ask Nne for permission when next she visits," Oluchi added. Chikezie tilted his head towards her voice, his hand gently framing her face. "How did I get so lucky to have an understanding woman like you?" Oluchi giggled softly, tracing the outline of his lips with her fingers. "I love you, Oluchi," he whispered. "I love you too, my husband," she murmured. One morning, Chikezie talked to his wife. "I have thought about your proposal," he said, running his hands through her hair. "You can start selling fruits, but promise me you will come home early." Oluchi smiled, pressing a kiss to his cheek. "I promise." Oluchi's business grew, and she was so happy. One day, as she arranged her fruit stand, a familiar voice rang out. "Hmm, so things have gotten so bad that some people have to resort to selling fruits just to eat. What a pity." Oluchi turned, and there stood Obianuju, her aunt. Obianuju laughed loudly, looking at her with mockery. Oluchi kept quiet, refusing to react. She had no time for hate. "I am happy with my husband, blind or not. He gives me more joy than you ever did." Obianuju eventually walked away, still laughing, but Oluchi did not let her words affect her. She had everything she ever wished for. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share. See you in our next one. Bye.